Hi, this is Matthew Belk with Better Car People for GM. We're a couple weeks out from PDD. It was great having so many people run through the course. We're going to give you a podcast today that goes through the items that we went through at PDD with the lead process and what matters most. This will include the intro and the first one of our five different sections. Hopefully that if you're listening along, we're going to explain what's on the screen. If you're audio only in the car. The main point of this presentation is for GM field personnel to be able to ask the right questions of dealers, to woo them, and to help sell more cars, and more importantly, sell less Rams. So let's get on with it, all right? 2025, the lead process, what matters most, there's a big deal here, and that is that we're not just trying to get that 15% closing ratio. We're trying to not upset the customers that we don't close. The 85% we don't, even if we're doing a great job. And why is that important? That's important because at COVID, brand loyalty went out the window. People will go from a Mercedes to Genesis like that. But what we've seen in the last 5 years is that brand loyalty is starting to pick up. Not much, 2% a year, but that gets bigger and bigger every year. So basically what is happening is all those leads that are coming into your dealership, if you upset them, not if you don't sell them, you may not sell them, that's fine. But if you deliver them value, you're going to be just fine. But if you upset them, they will go out of their way never to use your brand for the next 20 years. So that's what may be at stake here. All the fantastic GM marketing and advertising is working. The vehicles are fantastic. They are unique. When you see out on the road, you'll see cars that you can't tell what brand they are. We know the different GM brands, done a great job with that. We could be losing that by sending out communications with our customers without value. But we're going to discuss that with how to make sure your dealership is sending out value and what questions to ask for that. We're also going to talk about this being a new time with AI. What questions to ask your dealership about AI, because we know it is as bad as it's ever going to be. It's going to be fantastic, but it's as bad as it's ever going to be. So for you guys listening, and you guys that were on the at PDD, let me just explain this. I have a photograph up here, and what it is it looks like a horse carriage. It's a horse carriage. It's got big, tall, big wheels on it. The wheels are a little nicer. They're actually spoked wheels, like metal spoked wheels instead of wagon wheels. But it looks just like a horse carriage, except no horses. There's a motor in the back, and this is high tech in 1904, right? I mean, this is 1902 maybe. It looks just like a horse carriage with a motor. What could go wrong, right? Well, the first thing you'll notice on it is the front of it. It's not going to do well on a head-on collision. It's not at all. So in the new tech, the brand new tech, is going to change the world, literally. The horseless carriage, at first, no one thought about a front-end collision because it used to have two horses, which are front-end collision detectors. They don't like running into things. So it wasn't thought about. Also, the horse carriage, or the horseless carriage, is really, really tall. And we know in modern vehicles, we need a lower center of gravity, right? Well, why was it so tall? Well, they hadn't thought yet. It's ground clearance, stuff like that. But also the reason that the horse carriages were tall is to see over the horses and not get poop in your face. And they hadn't figured that part out yet. They just hadn't got there. Obviously, modern cars have these things and things like windshields and stuff, but that's kind of where we are with AI. So we're going to discuss this. It's out there, but it's as bad as it's ever going to be. Let's talk about the ways of not hurting our dealerships, potential customers, by the way we use it. Okay, so my name is Matthew Belk. I am the founder and chief innovation officer for Better Car People. And this series we're calling BCP4GM. We've had a relationship with GM forever. I was the e-commerce director for Hendrick Automotive Group for about 10 years. I love my GM stores there, did a lot. In 2007, the year the iPhone came out, we sold 28,000 cars to start off with emails. It was 35% of our business. And the way we did that was we always look for whatever we send out to send value to the customer. That has not changed. A lot has changed, but sending value has not. I founded Better Car People in 2010. For you guys who have been around a while, that was when the Stop the Clock program came out. We looked at that, and this is very important as you look at AI. We used some machine learning. It was rules-based machine learning. But what we did was we used dynamic templating with real people. And there was a lot of companies that showed up in 2010. And for you guys who didn't know about this, GM decided that since the response time for a GM dealer was over a day, 24 hours, they were going to use some EBE money, and you can make $10,000 a quarter if you can answer your leads within an hour on a 24-hour clock. Now, a lot of people thought it was unfair. If you're a Ford or a Stellantis dealer, they only judge their dealers during normal business hours, because Stellantis and Ford customers only shop during normal business hours. Not true. They shop 24/7. You were already ahead of the game. GM was thinking about this. So a bunch of companies showed up. They'd either do one or two things. They would do a bunch of autoresponders, which GM found out right away. All they had to do is ask a question. Or they filled up a boiler room of people and just try to answer all leads. And guess what? You can't make money at that. What we did is something called collaborative intelligence. We looked at what we knew about the lead, vehicle type, trade-in, lead source, dealership information, and we would build a dynamic template. Then we'd have a real person look at it and make changes if we need to. Made them ultra efficient and made a great response. We did that in 2010. We were answering, tens of thousands of leads. We answer millions of leads now. Our people now in 2025 is 450 people. I sold the company a few years ago to a private equity so we could become a roll-up. We've bought 5 companies, including Proactive Dealer Solutions, which a lot of you should know about. Great training, great tech on the service side. So now we answer millions of leads the same way, collaborative intelligence. And regardless if you sign up for a program that's AI only, it still is going to end up being collaborative intelligence, because your dealership's going to have to work with that AI. And they're going to have to know a lot about it. Unfortunately, you can't just sign up and just let it run and hopefully it works. Something to know about that. AI, I thought it was going to be big, so I ended up going to MIT for that, the Sloan School of Management, and just to find out what it can do and what it'll never do. But my biggest claim to fame is my wife and I, we have 8 kids and 16 grandchildren now. I use my family as guinea pigs to see how people are consuming the internet. And my grandkids use it completely differently than my kids do. Omni-channel is a big deal. Value and the silent death that you'll get from my grandchildren if you piss them off. And that's just us. We have less patience now than we did 5 years ago. Hopefully we have a little more patience, because hopefully we're better. But anyway, so why lead management still defines dealership success? Because that's where we get the leads from. We cannot rely on walk-in traffic. We get some. That's great. Fantastic. You're doing it. In fact, that's a great barometer on how much your area trusts you. It's how much walk-in traffic you get. But still, to be able to sell the numbers we need to sell, those are coming in from the internet. A couple different places on the internet. We're going to look at that, but they're still coming in from internet, more important than ever. Now, when I was at Hendrick, it was fantastic. I had 64 stores, 20 different manufacturers. So I got a full view of what was going on. It is very difficult as a single point dealership to understand how you're doing. At least you get to know what you're doing versus your zone, right? Or what how I'm doing versus other GM stores. Unfortunately, we don't get a lot of indicators on how we're doing versus everybody else, other than sales going up and down. Pied Piper does a report, and this may be difficult if you're watching this on the phone, but it's their prospect satisfaction index. And what it is it's mystery shops, long-term mystery shops. It's really looking for, everyone's going to fail on different things. It's looking for what the most complete responses is to web leads. This year, 2025, Subaru went up 9 spots, jumped 9 different manufacturers to have a top score of 77. The industry average is 65. The worst non-electric vehicle was Jaguar, just so you know, okay? But let me let you know how we did versus last year. So last year, Cadillac was crushing it. So this year, they're in 17th. They're down 4 points, but they're down like 13 spots. And the Cadillac, you've been doing fantastic. We've been working a lot of Cadillac stores with their response time, with their FQR product. A lot of you guys know about it, overnight BDC. That's working. But the rest of the industry went up by 3. So a 7-point drop dropped them 14 points down. GMC is at 26 with down 3. Chevrolet is actually up 1 at 28, and Buick is down 1 at 31st. So these are not fantastic responses. Now, this isn't saying that GM isn't crushing on the internet. You do so much better than most of the dealers. What it is showing us there's some opportunities. And this isn't looking at people who necessarily bought from your dealership. It's just looking at a mystery shop and what you did on that mystery shop. And now why that's important, why mystery shops are important. I used to hate them, but I have to have them. My view of a mystery shop is this. If somebody calls you a horse, say, forget you, I'm not a horse. If two people call you a horse, look for a mirror, right? Because you should check it out. If three people call you a horse, it doesn't matter what you think you are a horse. And that's what mystery shops are. Now, what this is showing is that, hey, we probably respond really well to the people who know us and trust us and want to buy our vehicles. We probably are not responding that well to newcomers. Now, as I spoke in the beginning, in the intro, that means we may be losing them for a long time. So that's why this report is important. So even if a dealership is making 15% closing ratio, it's again, are we upsetting the other 85%? We're also going to use some information from Urban Science here, Channel Vantage, to help you out with that. All right. So that's a risk when the process fails. If somebody's going to buy a car within, let's say, a week, we probably have the process for that. But 40% of the people who do buy from your leads buy after 2 weeks. And we really have to look at that. A lot of our dealerships are not sending out true value with that. So this is where we're going to run into this podcast, is giving you the big five, right? The 5 things that your dealership should at least check in on and make sure they're doing right. I look at these as points of failure. Okay. You could be doing a great job with other stuff, but if you don't do these things, then these would be points of failure where you're losing people. Right. This podcast, I've already been going for a little bit. We're going to go through Speed to Lead. We're going to give you a full one on content, another one on follow-up, another one on phone skills, and the last one on a confirmation process. Now, where did this big 5 come from? Well, it came from Better Car People. And the reason is I have 25 performance coaches out in dealerships every day, seeing what's really working in dealers. The other thing is I have a 250 person contact center. I am, for hundreds of dealers, I am the BDC. So I have to make sure, I have to look at it, and if I fail, then the dealership is going to fire me, which is bad. But there's another bad thing. If I don't do this efficiently, I can't make money at it. Like I spoke before, in 2010, there's a lot of people who try to answer GM leads and failed because they just filled up a room full of people. That won't work. We have to be efficient about these things. So when I look at what I need to do for dealers, I have to hit these 5 points to be able to get the closing ratio the dealerships are needing. And at least, and this is before I even get further into skills and some of the cool stuff we do. This is just the base. All right. So let's get going here on Speed to Lead. All right. So this is a single point of failure. No matter what you say, people talk about, hey, let's not worry about stop the clock. In 2010, when GM had the program only on for 6 months, okay, they shut it down after 6 months. GM's overall closing ratio for the entire manufacturer was up 3%. Did a lot of dealerships do it wrong? Absolutely. But even doing it wrong raised the closing percentage because we answer the customer immediately. So this is the first thing you have to do. What's the question you need to ask the dealership? Let's start with management by embarrassment. What is your response time compared to the zone? That's the first thing. They have to look at compared to their brother and sister dealers and find out where they are. If they're at the top, congratulations, probably using us. But or they're sleeping with their phones. But that's the first thing to do. The absolute first thing to do. Now, why don't we respond quickly? Well, remember the first thing is the 24-hour clock. Well, how many people, sending leads in the middle of the night? They must be drunk. I've heard that so many times. They're not. 40% of your leads come in after hours. So imagine this. You're trying to get 15% closing ratio, but you're trying to do that with only 60% of the leads. If you can send out an autoresponder, say, hey, we'll be back in the morning, that works unless the other dealership they sent the lead to answers their question. So how many of your leads come in after hours? GM's official number as of right now, 2025, is 40%. But this is a very simple report they can run. They can use a GM report for it. They can use their CRM for it. Ask them, they're not going to know. And they're going to look at you as a GM field person with more respect because you're asking a question that they didn't realize that was important. You're helping them out a lot. So we know that less than 10-minute response time you'll lose 50% of closing ratio. 92% of all statistics are made up, but this is a good one. No, what it is it depends on the competitiveness of your area. And that's not just your dealership because of brand loyalty. It could be not just GM dealerships, it could be other dealerships also. So if we all agree, it just makes sense. This is common sense that if I respond quickly with a good response, then I'll close more. Then what is holding up a response time? This is something that you need to ask your dealership this question: what's holding up a response time? And then you need to stay quiet. And what I mean is stay quiet for a long time, because the first answer to this is going to be off the cuff, and we need them to dig a little deeper. You may say, hey, we don't have after hours going well. Repeat the question back. You don't have after hours going well? Or they may say that, hey, we go as quick as we can. And they're like, well, what else are you doing? That would be the next question. What they're doing is follow-up. The answer you'll find when you ask these questions is follow-up is killing their closing ratio. What we're trying to do is get BDC reps or internet salespeople. They have other jobs. Some of those jobs may be more important. If it's a salesperson that's responsible for selling cars, handling someone on the floor is more important than answering an internet lead. But there's a lot of other people at the dealership doing things that are not more important than an internet lead. All right, getting it immediately. The other problem is follow-up. If you have not responded quickly within 10 minutes, right, that means that you're not getting as much engagement with those leads. What happens if you don't get engagement? If you don't get engagement, then you have to follow up with that customer. Because I wasn't urgent on responding to the lead, I have more follow-up. When I follow up, how many phone calls do you want me to make a day? 100, 200, 250? I've heard these numbers go out there. So now my point of being a BDC rep is that I'm making a bunch of phone calls. If I'm using my CRM, I've got a bunch of tasks to click off, but I don't get them done by the end of the day. I'm getting yelled at. All these things don't have anything to do with the initial response. When I would go into a Hendrick store, or my performance coaches that go into stores right now, and they'll do 1 day, 2 day, 3 days. And we do this also in our master class. We have monthly master classes that we're offering up to GM field reps. If you want to sign up for those, go to bettercarpeople.com. It's free for GM field reps. We're having 5 per month that can come in for free, but you go for a 3-day master course. We tell them to stop doing follow-up for a day. Just answer the leads quickly, and suddenly they have appointments. So this is just something that we can't stress enough, is that we need to buckle down on response time first before we start handling. And yes, response has to be great. There's all kinds of things we want to be able to do, but first we have to set up a process to respond quickly. So to recap with this, your questions to a dealer: going to see a new dealer, how about they just throw you in there and you show up, you go, hey, what's your response time compared to the zone? Let them look that up. You sure already know it, but you got to let them look that up. Next question is, how many leads come in after hours? Let them, find that. They're not going to know the answer. Let them find that. Let them find the report. Don't give it to them. Let them find it. Notice that I didn't ask what their closing ratio was, because this is regardless of their closing ratio. This is how you make your closing ratio better. And you're only of value to the dealer if you can make that better. So that's why you don't even need to ask about it. And then what is holding up your response time? This gives you a great conversation, a good starter, and a way for the dealership to see that you're here to offer value. I appreciate your time. This is the first. We'll be putting these out for you. Please also look. We'll be including links to be able to sign up for this on the different Apple Podcasts and Google, YouTube Music Podcasts, and Spotify, so you can listen to these while you're in a car. Also, please share this with your other field reps. We only had, I think, about 250 people go through the meeting at PDD. There was 1,300 of you there. Also, if you have any questions providing feedback for this, you can email us at BCP4GM at bcp.us. That's BCP4GM at bcp.us, and give suggestions of what you'd like to hear or what problems you're coming up with when you're going to the dealership. I really appreciate your time, and we love GM, and we want you guys to be successful. Thanks so much.